5, 7, 8.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. These are the stakes. To make a world in which all of God's children can live, or to go into the dark, we must either love each other or we must die.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
After a long career, the Republican Senate member Barry Goldwater has retired.
He was a member of the Senate from 1953 to 1964 and 1969 to 1987, interrupted by his run for presidency. He called for a harsh stance against the Soviet Union. He opposed arms control treaties with that country. He wanted a limited, less powerful federal government and supported states' rights.
It is said that Goldwater was the one to start the conservative movement, and he is retiring today. And now an update on President Nixon.
President Nixon has done many things to improve our country, including ending the fighting in Vietnam and improving relations with China and USSR.
He has also ended the draft, created a broad environmental program, and has added new anti-crime laws.
He was just elected in the largest landslide in American history, despite his growing scandal.
This scandal is known as the Watergate scandal. Last year, burglars broke into the Watergate Hotel. They tried to steal papers from the Democratic National Committee, who was staying at the hotel.
A $25,000 check from the Nixon campaign was found in one of the burglars' account, according to the Washington Post.
And now new information. Alexander Butterfield, the former presidential appointments secretary, has revealed that since 1971, Nixon has recorded all telephone calls and conversations in his office.
This is very secretive, and parts of the tapes have been deleted. Many believe that he's hiding something.
It is said that he will resign from the presidency, becoming the first president to resign in the history of the U.S.
And now, Tom, news on President Nixon and his calling upon the silent majority.
Many Americans were very disappointed when they found out Nixon would not withdraw his soldiers, our soldiers, from Vietnam. It was his campaign slogan that he would bring them home.
On Monday, November 3rd, President Nixon addressed the concerns of the American citizens by having a speech. In the end, President Nixon called on the silent majority to support him in his goals. We are approaching July 4th. We pay tribute to the historic events leading up to the making of this country and our freedom.
NBC is holding an event in the heart of D.C. for our annual bicentennial celebration. Join us on July 4th for this heartwarming occasion. It's the year 1979, and there is a major oil crisis in the Middle East.
Yes, there is, Tom. The Iranian Revolution is decreasing the amount of oil output in the region, which is causing gas and fuel prices to rise and crude oil to double in price at around $39.50.
Carter just gave a speech on the crisis about how we should all conserve energy. He just gave the crisis of confidence speech about how we should all conserve our energy and how the White House will be installing solar hot water panels on their roof. He has also placed an embargo on Iran oil after revolutionaries seized American embassies in Iran.
52 Americans were taken hostage after the American embassy was taken over by Iranian college students that were strong believers in the Iranian Revolution.
Luckily, Reagan has just ended the crisis after 444 days, and the Americans have retaken the control of the embassy by military force. 8 servicemen were killed, unfortunately, and 1 Iranian civilian was also killed.
This was the longest hostage crisis in history.
And now we're here with President Reagan. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm glad I could join you guys today.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions. How did you start your career?
Well, I started out as an actor, TV host, and sports broadcaster. This made me very likable by the American people.
This must have helped you during your presidency.
Yeah, it helped me spread word throughout the media.
How do you plan on ending the Cold War?
I plan to make treaties with the USSR. We need to do this because we both have very high nuclear powers right now.
Yeah.
And if we continue this way, it may not end well.
How do you plan on doing that?
I plan to talk to the president of the USSR, President Gorbachev. So in this way, we can both stop our nuclear powers and make good treaties.
Yeah, so how has this year been for you?
Well, it's been very good. I'm glad I could be president for the U.S. here. And the American people have cooperated very well with my new policies, and I'm just glad that I could be president.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming.
Yes, I'm glad I could join you.
Reagan wants to put action to moral majority by allowing students to pray in school and by having strict abortion laws.
Reagan wants to give more of a voice to Christian conservatives by giving them more of a voice in government.
And now, a crisis in Berlin regarding the Berlin Wall.
The Berlin Wall opened its gates, and with it comes chaos, terror, and even death.
During its time standing, 136 people died trying to cross. Well, at least 5,000 people successfully escaped.
The gate opened at approximately 10:30 November 6th.
This marks the official end to the Berlin Wall, and we have actual footage from it. Homeownership has reached a record high at 67.7%, and poverty rates have dropped to 11.8%.
For the 11.8% of homeless people, Clinton's Needy Families Project assists them.
Also, thanks to his rising of the income tax, the country's budget has gone from a deficit of $290 billion to a surplus of $128 billion.
This is amazing how Clinton is able to do all of this.
It is possibly because of his contractionary financial policy.
As we have just concluded the election of 2000, let's see what made this election so controversial for the people of America. Let's see what caused Bush to win and Al Gore to fall.
People were very confused when Al Gore said he created the internet. We can all agree he did stuff for the internet, he helped it out, but he never created it.
As we have seen throughout the year, Bush has done many things to help the women of America by being pro-life with the exception of rape, incest, and to save the lives of pregnant women.
As we conclude the election of 2000, we can all agree this has been a very controversial election. Breaking news, the country is under attack.
Terrorists have hijacked 3 planes, crashing them into very important buildings: the Pentagon, the North Tower of the World Trade Center, and the South Tower of the World Trade Center. Many people have died, and many more are missing. Al-Qaeda terrorists are suspected.
Sorry to interrupt, but a 4th plane had just crashed in a field in Stony Creek, Pennsylvania. It is believed the terrorists were going to hit the White House. And it seems like the passengers somehow hijacked the plane back from the terrorists and bravely sacrificed their lives so that they would not hit the White House.
Both of the Twin Towers have collapsed, and the Pentagon has had a partial collapse in the West Wall. Osama bin Laden is the suspected leader of the attack. However, he has not claimed responsibility.
It is expected that President Bush will declare a war on terror as a result of the tragic attack that left at least 2,996 people dead and 6,000 injured.
Reagan has started one of the best economies we have seen in American history. His trickle-down policies have helped the economy in more ways than we could have ever imagined. He helped the businesses by cutting taxes and promoting the free market. As the businesses were helped, the businesses helped their employees. As the employees received more money in their paychecks, they spent more of it, causing the economy to prosper. More businesses are being opened, causing a higher employment rate, putting money back into the market. He did all of this by supporting laissez-faire economics, which is when the government doesn't interfere with the businesses. For example, the Dow Jones Industrial Average grew nearly 14-fold, adding 40 million new jobs to the economy. He He reduced the money supply to combat inflation, making your money worth more. This was a great success, however, the national debt tripled due to his policies, but the advantages heavily outweighed the disadvantages.
What the scallop? How did you do that?
Solar panels. Oh shoot.
Longest hostage crisis in control with the. Oh, I can't read that. I can't.
Host, a sports broadcaster, and
Country's booming right now, thanks to Clinton's economic plan.
Yeah.
okay, we have to do it faster.
Come on.
Come on.
Go up on the couch.
On the couch. Let's take
Sit.
a seat. Wait. And now a crisis in Berlin regarding the Berlin Wall. And breaking news: the country is under attack.
Terrorists have hijacked 3 planes, crashing them into very important buildings.
Mostly special garbage talk.
And now we're here with President Reagan. Thank you for coming.
I'm glad I could join you guys, yes.
Again.
Peasant. Peasant.
So you need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife.